Hey boys and girls, welcome back. I got a new pattern here for you today. Just another wire pattern that I'm filling up the box with. But been trying to convert a lot of my flies over to some soft tackle, and the first step of learning soft tackle is using CDC, and that's what you have here. This is called a purple prince, kind of a combination of a copper john and a prince nymph. Copper john that you typically see is a wire body with tails or without, and the prince nymph typically has these biot wings that come off under or flat against the body. But we're adding some CDC here to try to get a little bit of movement, and real easy tie. But if you're going to start trying some of the soft tackle, it's a good idea to start with something easy like the CDC. You can put that on the hook by using a dubbing loop, split thread technique, and kind of make it as sparse and as long as you want. So most times when you're dealing with soft tackles, the length is what's important. This is a size 14. So once we get down into that range, it gets kind of hard to find feathers that are going to fit. So I actually just came across one of these new Brahma hens that we're using for soft tackle, and tons of size 12 on it. That's really the smallest that I've seen. And once I get down to 14, I could probably make most of those work. But once you get down further than that, the feathers are just too big. And over the next couple weeks, we're going to start, to cover some of the stuff, different ways to go about it. Since I'm converting a lot of my existing patterns, there's different ways you can go about it. Sometimes if we have the bead up top, you're wrapping the hackle behind the head, and that creates one type of look. March brown pattern that I'm tying up right now and is going to be one of the videos. The bead is set back, so you can tie it in a different way, and just gives you some options. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to control, other times it's a little more difficult. So let's get right into this here, and we'll get started, okay? So what we're going to be getting into here, I'll show you ingredient lists. We have here for the CDC, it's just Orvis tan. For the dubbing, I have here, this is what they're calling rusty brown. This is by Fooling Mills, kind of like they're calling it tactical micro flash dub, but it's pretty thin. It's very similar to some of the ice dubs that you're seeing out there. For the biots, we're dealing with, this is just a tan. I picked this color because that was the color that I have on the soft tackle that I have. I was going to try something different, but it still looks better with the CDC, but this was matching that. It just gives a good contrast with that purple, and it kind of matches colors that I'm seeing in my stream, which is important. So the wire that we're using, this is Semperfly 0.2, that's purple. For the hooks, we got, this is Orvis 1 POR, that's size 14, and the beads are also a Fooling Mill. This is metallic purple, I think it's 2.8 millimeter. And the thread that we're using, just some purple for the base, and then I'm putting in some nano silk here for the collar, or for like a hotspot collar. Okay, so let's get right into this. I put a coat down of this purple, and the reason I'm using the purple, my wire is purple, obviously, but it gives you a little bit of coverage. I'm not trying to build up any bulk here, just trying to cover that hook. With this 0.2 wire, it takes a lot of wraps to get it, you know, the whole way up the hook. It is very thin. We tie this wire on, we want it right on the top the whole way back. We want this to be consistent, this underbody, but also because it's purple, you know, any gaps that you might have, which you're always going to run into, it's almost impossible to get them to stack up against each other. You know, those wraps the whole way up to the bead and be consistent. So you put a little bit of color, same color underneath, and it can kind of, you know, cover your errors, so to speak. Okay, that's all we're gonna need the purple for. Set that aside. So when we wrap this up, I always try to fold that forward first and then start these wraps. And we want touching wraps. Going the whole way up. Now a copper John obviously is using a copper bead and copper wire. You see them with biot tails, like you're going to be tying a stonefly, and you know, it has a really good look. So that's something, you know, that I fish a lot with, stoneflies. Excuse my hands here as I'm reaching in front of the camera to try to keep these wraps tight. But yeah, they're already coming off. I was in the water yesterday and it was freaking freezing. Water was 36 degrees and I was fighting like foam icebergs in some of the slower waters that I was trying to hit. But stoneflies are already coming off, so that's good. It's a little bit bigger than what we're seeing right now. Most of the ones I saw yesterday are in that, you know, 1/8 an inch to a 1/2 an inch, or 1/8 of an inch to a 1/4 inch long. Most of the times that we see those come off in late winter, early spring, they're a little bit bigger than that, probably closer to this size 14. Okay, that's our body. And you can kind of see a little bit of gaps here, usually on your turning points, you know, on the hook. So that's expected. That's why I put that purple underneath. I'm gonna tie on our nano silk. But for the wire, I didn't tell you that. I typically cut off about 6 inches. It's about the width of my base, and that's about all I'm left with after wrapping that entire thing there. So that 5-6 inch mark should be about perfect for the amount of wire that you're gonna need. Okay, now something that's a little bit different when we get into our biots. And I have another pattern that's something I'm gonna try. Typically when you're dealing with a Prince nymph and you're using these biots for wings, you're gonna see, you know, the wings lay a little bit more flat, okay? So when we're tying these in, we have to be we have to pay attention to how much we're compressing the biot. If you pull down on it too hard, it'll start to pop up, and it's a little bit different look. I'm gonna try a couple patterns that way today, or not today, this spring. If spring ever comes along, or I can get these buyouts separated, whichever's first. Okay, a little bit easier to tie these on one at a time. That way you can see how that's somewhat on the side, but coming back to, oh, I just destroyed it. But the points of the thing are coming back till, you know, short of the end of the body. Build this up a little bit. Okay, looks like that. Then you get your second one, and when you're dealing with buyouts, you know, there's always a curve to them. You don't want them up, you want the points going down. Just measure that up against the other wing that you have. Looks pretty good. These fooling mill beads have a big hole in the back of them. And beads like to spin a little bit. Okay, that's the basics of what you're going to get with a prince nymph. A lot of times you'll see white wings on those, and yeah, you can make it whatever you want. Here we're going to put this dubbing on nice and tight. You don't need a lot of this, just enough to cover up our mess. Because we still have to tie that CDC in there. And we don't want to bulk that up too much. We want that bead to be prominent. There's nothing you can make me do to ever forget my roots. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world. You can catch me on 65. Driving to the pull off our excess. I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. Clean this up a little bit. I'll never forget my roots. This pattern is very lean. So a lot of these stragglers and stuff I don't like to have around, because I want those wings to be the most prominent part of it. Okay, so there's that. When we get our CDC, I am only using, you know, when you pull the whole feather out of here, I am only using half of it, and I put it in a clip, which is still, you know, a lot of fibers. You can thin those out at the end a little bit anyway, just so we can trim them to length there, just by pinching them off. Okay, spin this up. Okay, now when we get up close to the bead here, we're going to start to pull these back.
Forget my roots. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world.
That might be a little overdressed, but that's all right. We'll thin it out.
I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. I'll never forget my
We're just
roots.
gonna start to build up this hot spot. We're gonna tie this off. Maybe.
Baby, there ain't no sense in waiting. Yeah, we don't know if we got the time. Oh, I'm just a country girl in
Okay, that's your CDC here. And what we're looking at, you can see all these crazy fibers. I like to try to pull them back and up and pinch off the long ones. And that kind of leaves those bottom ones a touch longer. There you go, boys and girls. Purple Prince, Copper John variant, Prince Nymph variant. Tie your different colors up. I like to have that contrasting color, you know, with the body on the wings and, you know, the soft tackle. Here's one that was used with regular soft tackle. Very sparse. This is kind of part of a stonefly variation here. Something real small. You know, the length on this is maybe a 1/4 inch or so when we're looking at this. So kind of give you an idea on how long those bugs are. But yeah, this one in particular, you can tie down to 16, 18, and I do that a lot. It's a great in-between spring pattern, you know, to try that with. But give them a shot, change your colors, make it for what you want. I'll tie these up in browns and greens and, you know, just something a little bit more natural. This is more of that, you know, type of pattern that's going to induce that strike, just something a little bit different. All right, guys, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon.